The air was heavy with silence. The graveyard smelled of wet earth after the morning rain. Eliza, dressed in black, stood motionless beside her husband's fresh grave. Her hands trembled as she held tightly onto her 12-year-old son's fingers. "Amy," the boy whispered, his voice breaking. "Will people stop calling us cursed now?" Eliza's chest tightened. She wanted to collapse, to scream at the cruel world, but she forced herself to stand tall. The boy needed her. That moment wasn't just about burying her husband. It was about burying her old life, her laughter, her innocence. She was only 24, but her eyes already carried the exhaustion of 50 years. Just a year ago, her mornings had been filled with warmth. Her husband, Hamza, used to wake her with playful jokes. Their small rented house echoed with his laughter and the sound of their son's cricket ball bouncing in the courtyard. They had dreams. Hamza promised her, "Next year, we'll move into our own house, Eliza. No more landlords, no more shifting. Just you, me, and our boy." But fate was cruel. The accident happened on a rainy evening. A truck hit Hamza's motorcycle, and by the time Eliza reached the hospital, his body lay lifeless under a white sheet. Her cries shook the corridors, but the world didn't stop. It never does. The very next day, whispers began. "She's too young to live alone as a widow. What will she do now? She has no income. Poor boy, fatherless at such an age." Instead of sympathy, Eliza received judgment. Relatives suggested remarriage within the family, for her safety. Some neighbors stared at her as if she were guilty of her husband's death. Her son heard every word. At school, his classmates repeated what they overheard at home. "Your mom looks too young to be a widow, maybe she'll marry again." The boy fought back tears. He clenched his fists but stayed silent. Eliza tried to manage the household by sewing clothes, but money was never enough. When she couldn't pay rent, her late husband's brother, Salman, stepped in. "At least let me help," he said smoothly, placing money on the table. "Your family. Who else will look after you?" Eliza hesitated but accepted, thinking of her son's school fees. She didn't notice the way Salman's eyes lingered too long, the way his hand brushed against hers deliberately. Her boy noticed though. His small heart sensed something was wrong, but he didn't have the words to explain it. One night, while Eliza sat mending clothes under a dim bulb, Salman leaned closer than usual. His voice was low, dangerous. "You know, Eliza, you don't have to stay alone. A woman like you shouldn't waste her life in grief. I'm here. You understand what I mean, don't you?" Her sewing needle slipped from her fingers. Her son was asleep in the next room. The walls of the small house suddenly felt like they were closing in. Eliza's heart pounded. Was this the real price of accepting help? That night, Eliza sat frozen with fear. Salman's words still echoed in her ears. "A woman like you shouldn't waste her life in grief. I'm here. You understand what I mean, don't you?" Her fingers trembled as she pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders. She wanted to scream, to throw him out, but she swallowed her voice. What if he stopped helping her? How would she feed her son? Salman smirked as he left, whispering, "Think about it. I'll come again." Eliza shut the door and collapsed on the floor, muffling her sobs into her dupatta so her boy wouldn't hear. The next morning, her 12-year-old son, Saad, noticed her swollen eyes. "Amy, were you crying again?" he asked softly, pouring water from a steel jug into her glass. "No, beta, just tired," she forced a smile. But Saad wasn't a child anymore. His father's death had forced him to grow up too soon. He heard whispers in the neighborhood, words too poisonous for a child's ears. "Her devar comes too often. Something must be going on. Poor boy, how will he face the world when his mother?" Saad clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. At school, the bullying grew worse. One boy sneered, "Your mom is young, maybe she'll marry your uncle, Han?" Another added, "Bekra, doesn't even have a real father anymore. The class burst into cruel laughter. Saad threw his books at them in rage, but the teacher punished him instead. He sat on the bench outside the classroom, tears burning in his eyes. Meanwhile, Salman kept visiting more frequently. One evening, he cornered Eliza in the kitchen. "You can't live like this forever, Eliza. I'm offering you protection, comfort, you know what I mean." His voice dripped with false sweetness. Eliza whispered, "You're my husband's brother, have some shame." He laughed coldly. "Shame doesn't pay bills. Remember, I've been helping you. Without me, you'll starve." Her body shook with rage and helplessness. She wanted to scream, but her son's innocent face flashed before her eyes. She stayed quiet, swallowing the poison. One night, Saad woke up to get water. As he passed the small living room, he froze. Salman was leaning too close to his mother. She pushed his hand away, whispering fiercely, "Leave me alone." But Salman only chuckled, "Why fight what you need?" Saad's heart pounded. He wanted to run, but his legs refused to move. He saw his mother's fear, her silent tears, her trembling hands. Something inside him broke. The next morning, he asked in a trembling voice, "Ammi, why does Uncle come so often at night?" Eliza's face went pale. She cupped his cheeks and whispered, "Beta, you're too young to understand. Just promise me, never be alone with him." Saad's throat tightened. His little shoulders carried a pain he couldn't share with anyone. Days later, the storm finally erupted. Salman came again, this time bolder than ever. He grabbed Eliza's wrist roughly, whispering, "Enough pretending. You can't live without me. Stop acting holy." Suddenly, a voice thundered from behind. "Leave my mother alone." Saad's scream sliced through the suffocating silence of the room. His small chest heaved, his fists trembling, but his eyes were filled with fire. Salman's grip on Eliza's wrist loosened for a moment. He turned slowly, glaring at the 12-year-old boy who dared to challenge him. "You brat," Salman growled. "Go back to bed." But Saad stepped forward, his voice shaking yet steady. "No. You're a shameless man. I won't let you hurt my Ammi anymore." Eliza's heart raced. She pulled her wrist free and rushed to shield her son. Her hands cupped Saad's face, but her eyes locked on Salman with new courage. Salman's face twisted with anger. "You think you can insult me? I'm the only one keeping this house alive." Eliza's voice, trembling yet fierce, cut through his arrogance. "No. You've been poisoning it with your filth. Get out." For the first time in months, she spoke without fear. Her son's bravery lit a flame inside her. Salman sneered, "You'll regret this. Without me, you're nothing. A widow, young and helpless, society will crush you." But Eliza didn't flinch. She slammed the door behind him as he stormed out, her body shaking from head to toe. That night, Eliza sat beside Saad as he slept, his small hand gripping hers even in dreams. She realized she couldn't stay silent anymore. Her son had stood like a shield for her. Now, she had to protect him, not just from Salman, but from the entire society that preyed on their weakness. The next morning, with trembling legs but determined eyes, Eliza walked to the police station. The officers looked at her with surprise. "You want to file a complaint against your own brother-in-law?" "Yes," Eliza said firmly, her voice steady despite her fear. "He tried to exploit me. And my son saw everything." For a moment, silence hung in the air. Then, reluctantly, they wrote her statement. Salman was summoned and arrested that evening. But justice came at a price. Neighbors gathered outside her home, whispering loud enough for her to hear. "She's lying. Why would a woman accuse her devar unless she wanted attention? Shameless widow, destroying her own family's honor. Her poor husband must be turning in his grave." Even some relatives turned against her. "Eliza, withdraw the case," they pleaded angrily. You're ruining the family name. Better suffer in silence than invite shame. Eliza stood tall, though her hands trembled. She looked at Saad and whispered, if I stay silent today, he'll grow up thinking abuse is normal. I won't let that happen. At school, Saad faced new taunts. Your mom sent her own uncle to jail. Your family is broken. Everyone laughs at you. This time, Saad didn't throw his books or cry. He stood up, his voice clear and steady. My mother is braver than all of you. She fought a monster. One day, I'll make her proud. The bullies fell silent. For the first time, Saad felt no shame in being fatherless. He had something stronger, a mother who fought like a lioness. But battles are never won so easily. One night, after Salman's bail, Eliza heard a stone crash through her window. A paper was tied to it. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. It read, You thought you could destroy me? I will destroy you instead. Watch your son carefully. Eliza's blood ran cold. She hugged Saad tightly, whispering a prayer through her tears. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. The shattered glass crunched under Eliza's feet as she picked up the stone with trembling hands. The note's words pierced her heart. You thought you could destroy me? I will destroy you instead. Watch your son carefully. She clutched Saad to her chest, her body shaking. For the first time, fear wasn't for herself, it was for her child. But deep inside, a voice whispered, no more silence. No more weakness. The next day, Eliza went straight to the women's protection cell at the police station. She held the note in her hand like a weapon. This man won't stop until he destroys us, she told the officer, her voice stronger than ever. If the system won't protect me, I'll fight myself. The officer nodded. Don't worry, madam. We'll place him under strict watch. But remember, your courage is your biggest shield. For the first time, Eliza felt seen. But the outside world wasn't kind. Some neighbors whispered, she's exaggerating, making drama for sympathy. Others said, she should have just remarried him quietly instead of making a scene. At the bazaar, women pulled their children away when Eliza walked past, as though she carried some curse. Her heart bled, but she walked with her head high. Saad walked beside her, holding her hand tightly. His eyes told her silently, Ami, I'm proud of you. Weeks later, Salman tried one last desperate move. Late at night, he lurked outside their house, shouting threats. Eliza. I'll ruin you. You think anyone will respect you after this? You're nothing without me. Eliza didn't hide this time. She opened the door, her voice steady and loud enough for the entire street to hear. You're wrong, Salman. I am not nothing. I am a mother, and that makes me stronger than any man who preys on weakness. You can't break me anymore. Neighbors peeked out from their windows. For the first time, they saw not a helpless widow, but a fearless woman standing tall against her abuser. The police, already alerted, arrived and dragged Salman away. This time, his threats didn't shake her. His voice faded into the night, but Eliza's strength echoed louder than ever. Months passed. The scandal that once tainted Eliza slowly turned into respect. People whispered less, some even admired her. At school, Saad's teachers noticed his transformation. His grades improved, his confidence grew. During a speech competition, he stood proudly and said, My hero is not a cricketer or a film star. My hero is my mother. She taught me that silence in the face of wrong is the real shame, not speaking the truth. The audience erupted in applause. Eliza's eyes brimmed with tears as she watched her son glow with pride. One evening, as the sun set, Eliza sat with Saad on the rooftop. The cool breeze brushed against their faces. Ami, Saad asked softly, why did Allah take Abu away and leave us alone? Eliza hugged him tightly, her eyes gazing at the fading sky. Beta. Allah didn't leave us alone. He gave us pain so we could find our strength. Remember this always, being a widow is not a curse. Being judged for surviving is the real curse. Never let anyone silence your truth. Saad leaned his head on her shoulder. For the first time since Hamza's death, Eliza felt peace. She had faced grief, abuse, and judgment, but she had risen from the ashes stronger than ever. Widows are not cursed. They are warriors who carry the weight of two lives on their shoulders, their own and their children's. Society must learn to give them respect, not suspicion. Strength is not in hiding pain but in fighting against it.